Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, this is going to be an amazing conversation with one of my favorite people in the world, Christina. She's truly amazed me. She had me come speak at her event for the Black Poster Project. Guys, we're going to be talking about EMDR. We're going to be talking about mental health. We're going to be talking about recovery because I believe that either you're working on a relapse or you're working on your recovery. You can't be doing both. So we're going to be talking about that. So, Christina, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
And I'm so grateful. We got to hang out, and
Mhm.
I love uh, the group that we're in, the Misfits, because I'm a big time misfit. So I don't fit in anywhere. I fit in nowhere, but I fit in everywhere. And we'll talk about
Yeah.
that in a minute. So my first question is, what is your definition of resiliency?
I think resiliency is basically just keep keeping pushing forward no matter what. Like just continuing no matter what. Because if you just keep letting things get in your way, then something's always going to be in your way. You know what I mean? Like you just kind of have to keep going. Otherwise, like eventually you're going to give up.
I love that. So give us a quick down and dirty about, you know, where you come from, how'd you grow up, and how did you get involved in the crazy world that you're in right now?
Oh, so I'm from Newark, New Jersey. I grew up there my whole life. I only moved out recently within the last few years. I did have a short stint where I moved to Florida, and New Jersey is definitely better than Florida. So I came back and I went to college at Rider University for a little while in southern New Jersey. I ended up dropping out. I had a huge like mental breakdown, and that's sort of where I started like learning about like addictions and mental health a little bit because I was kind of going through it back then. And then that's when I moved to Florida. I ended up coming back. I finished up my bachelor's degree, decided to get my master's degree in social work, and they placed me at Integrity House in Newark. And that's where I got the majority of my training. So I learned everything about co occurring and everything about just addictions in general. Not as much mental health, but that came later because I did have supervisors who were mental health professionals. And so I learned a lot there. I was there for a little over 2 years, and I moved on to this other agency. It was a New Jersey reentry. And there is where I learned more so about the mental health aspect and behavior modification. Because everybody that was there, all the clients that were there, were in either in recovery or every single one of them definitely had jail time under their belt, prison time under their belt. So there was a lot of people to help there and like kind of get them back on their feet. And that was actually a really nice job. I liked the clients that we had there. And from
Okay,
there I
cool.
went on, to Turning Point in Patterson, and I just kept on going as a team lead there. And then I went on to New Community Corporation, which is where I am now, where I am the executive director of Family Service Bureau, which is their mental health and addictions department, and that's how we met when I
Yep.
had my Black Poster Project event with Dawn, and they're really nice. Like that's a really great organization. I fully support them. I will go to so many more of their events, and I hope I can host more myself. And then as a side project, I have my own agency. So I have Synergy Counseling of New Jersey, and I'm the owner and CEO of that company. What I do there is I do EMDR and I do life coaching. And then I have there's other people there, other clinicians there to take care of other things like family therapy and individuals and couples counseling and things like that. But I mainly focus on just the life coaching and the EMDR, and then we sell merchandise as well.
Okay, so where'd you grow up in Newark?
I grew up in Ironbound. So when my family was there, it was mostly like Italian and Portuguese,
Okay.
and I'm not sure what it is now, but it was a good time growing up. Though I had a lot of friends and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I grew up on North 8th Street that in Newark, and then I moved to Belleville.
Ah, nice.
So what was it like? Because nobody ever grows up to be an addict or to have mental health issues, and a lot of it harkens back to the past. And I tell everybody, if an adult acts out, it's usually because of trauma that happened between the ages of 3 and 13.
Mm.
So, what was your child like? What was your childhood like? And did you go through a lot of trauma that caused you to have some problems in the future?
Mhm. It's actually interesting that you mentioned those ages because I don't remember anything before the age of 13. And the reason for that is because of childhood trauma. So eventually your brain gets to a point where it starts blocking things out
Yeah,
because like it's just protecting you
yeah,
from things. And that's actually where EMDR kind of comes in because that helps you go back and like think about the things that you may be repressing and just start bringing them up to the surface. And what it means is it's eye movement, desensitization, reprocessing, and you don't have to do it with eyes. It's really just bilateral stimulation. So it's anything that gets your senses going one side to the other, just sort of back and forth, and that is supposed to help um, bring back like past traumatic memories or experiences, so that you can learn how to then reprocess your brain to cope with them in a healthier way, as opposed to just pretending they were never there. Because realistically, it's not that you're not even really pretending that they're never there. You're acting out. You're repressing it, but like it manifests in different ways. So like if you had an abusive relationship, if you have an abusive relationship in your adulthood, chances are you had something that was abusive in your childhood, whether it was a parent or a sibling or somebody that caused that. You might have repressed it and then it resurfaced in your adulthood as abandonment issues or as um, codependency issues and things like that. It just sort of comes back around in a different way.
and it's interesting because I'm going to be on 300 podcasts this year. I'll be hosting 300 podcasts this year. But a
Mhm,
lot of people ask me, well, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I'm like, I don't remember. I don't
mhm,
remember anything from the ages of 10 and below. So when somebody asks me that question, I'm like, I got nothing. I'm like,
mhm,
I don't remember. And they're like, but how do you not remember? Like, I guess because everything got so repressed, I just
mhm.
can't remember. And I wish I could, but maybe God says, hey, maybe you don't need to remember that stuff. Maybe I have it behind a blocked wall for a reason. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, I've said things like that before too, where it's like I don't remember it, so maybe it's best that I just leave it where it is. But you never really know because it could be just popping up in other ways, and you don't really realize it. I mean, to an extent, it's normal to not remember everything from certain ages, especially as you get older. It gets to a point too where it's almost like false memories. Like you might remember things in a way that didn't actually happen, or you're misremembering things because you know your brain can only hold so much information for a long time. And you're also right when you said nobody dreams of becoming an addict or dreams of having mental health issues, because I mean that would be interesting if that were the case. But
Yeah.
it's one of the things that you kind of just become. It just not even become. I don't like to call people addicts. It's more so like it's a thing that you did. You became addicted to something. You're not an addict because
Like I
there's the
remember, you know, I had my first drink at 11 and I was a full blown alcoholic by 13. And I just remember I was Richard until I had that first drink. And then I was Rick. Then I became another person. I became outgoing. I became gregarious, loud, outspoken. And then once I stopped drinking, I went back to being Richard. And I think maybe a lot of people can jive with that because a lot of people they'll go out and they're nice and quiet. Then you get a couple beers in them, and they're
yeah,
6 foot tall and bulletproof. So talk
yeah.
about that about how the chemistry in the brain actually works. And they say you might be an addict or an alcoholic is if your attitude changes after you start using.
um I don't even think it's necessarily an addict thing. I think that's just more of the liquid courage of alcohol. It hits certain parts of your brain that make you more comfortable with doing certain things. And that's also a lot of people, they have like a misconception when it comes to alcohol because they'll just be like, oh, it just makes me more outgoing. It's like, no, it doesn't make you anything. It just makes you more comfortable with doing things you wouldn't normally have done sober. So like if there's somebody that you're attracted to, you're more likely to talk to them if you're drunk because it lowers your inhibitions. And that's all it does is it lowers your inhibitions. So it's not making you more confident, it's not making you more comfortable, it's not making you smarter, it's not making you a better driver, it's just making you not care anymore. All the things that you cared about, all the things that blocked you from doing it, it makes you just not care. And that's why you're able to do those things. And is it healthy? Absolutely not. but that's what some people use to get them to actually to motivate them to do other things, things that they wouldn't normally be comfortable with. Now, the difference between just doing that and being an addict is when you have to do that. Like if you have to do that and you have to do it multiple times and over again, and you feel like you can't do anything unless you're under the influence. Like I've had clients that can't do laundry unless they're drinking. So like that's addict behavior. That's when you can't function on a day-to-day life unless you're drunk or under some sort of substance.
Okay, now I have a question, Christina. But his name is Joe D. His question is, and I'll give my opinion and have give your opinion. He says, "What is the definition? What is your definition of being dry and being drunk? I mean, being dry and being sober. My definition is now. This is just for me. I'm not a professional. I'm a ninth grade dropout, so take it for what it's worth, guys. For me, being the difference between being dry and being sober. Being dry is still being an asshole, but you just don't drink. And for me, being sober is you don't drink and you try not to be an asshole. So,
Okay.
what are your definitions on being dry and being
I don't
sober?
I don't think being an asshole has anything to do about it. Um, I do think see dry. I think it's actually kind of an old term. The When I was coming up, we called it straight edge, and that's basically nothing touches you. You don't drink, you don't do drugs, you don't smoke cigarettes. You're just completely dry. Like nothing that could alter your state of your mental state of being will enter your body. It's kind of it's more of
Okay.
a some people use it as like a spiritual thing,
Okay.
but a lot of people just don't want to have any sort of substances altering their perception of anything. Whereas sober, it's just like you just don't you can take a drink and still be sober because it depends on, I mean, maybe like people that are in recovery shouldn't, but people who are not, who are just like like friends of mine, for example, who don't have any sort of issue
Mhm.
with with addictions, they can have a beer,
Yeah.
not be drunk because you're not drunk after one beer, depending on it's different circumstances. Let's say like they're not drunk, technically they're sober even though they had a drink because they're not drunk. So that's what I think of it as. I think that sober is not drunk, and dry is not in any sort of active problematic behaviors when it comes to drinking or doing drugs or anything like that.
And
I got
and I agree.
the words escaping me, but
Yeah, and
yeah.
I agree. Because if I look to my left, I have a whole refrigerator full of beer and wine, and like it's just not for me. It's like
Mhm.
I know I drink, I die next. There's no so for me, I'm not that guy that hangs around people that drink and look down upon them. I'm like, it's just not for me.
Mhm.
I've worn out it's worn out at my welcome. So it's just not for me. But I don't. I'll pour wine. I'll pour beer for my friends and family. It's just not for me. But a lot of people, once they get, especially in new sobriety, once they get sobriety, they're like, oh, when you're drinking, they start looking down on everybody, and it's like they don't have your problem. Why are
Yeah.
It's kind of like me. If I'm on a diet, why should I get mad if everybody else is eating good, right?
Exactly. And I actually talked to a friend about this not that long ago, and it's like just because you're in recovery doesn't mean everybody else has to be. So it's like it's your problem to deal with, and it's not a bad thing or a slight against anybody. It's just mostly like if that's your thing, then that's what you have to worry about. You have to maintain your recovery. It's nobody else's responsibility to do that. So if you live with somebody who drinks beer or drinks wine and you don't, that's just it is what it is. You have to figure out ways to cope with that, and whether that's going to more meetings or that's just, having different hobbies like a podcast or,
Yeah.
um, whatever it is that you need to do to keep yourself, you know, pushing forward. And 'cause I also think that you can get addicted to recovery. There are people that get so involved in it that it just becomes, almost their personality. Like they don't know what to do unless they're going to meetings. Like some people go to 3, 4, 5, 6 meetings a week, 7 meetings a week, and it's like all that they do. And it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, it's like did you just replaced one addiction with another. This one just happens to be more positive.
Now I go to meetings, not as much as I used to. I usually go to men's meetings because I don't want to deal with the 13 steppers and all that bullshit. I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm not going that route. But I would see the same guys in the same chairs week after week, year after year, and all they do is not drink. And I'm like,
Mhm.
but you don't have a business, you don't work, you don't have a car, you don't have a house. All you do is not drink. What kind of life is that? If you're supposed to have fun in life, but just
Mhm.
because you don't drink, that's your whole life. That doesn't sound like living a life to me. And I was always talk. What do they say? Attraction before promotion. If I see a guy and all he doesn't do is drink, but he has nothing and he's not enjoying life, that's not attractive to me. I'd rather be drinking. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. I was gonna say if that's my life, I might as well just be drunk all the time.
Yeah. So now,
Uh,
what causes? Because I'm like I said, I'm not a professional. I'm just a professional. I was 35 years clean and sober. Haven't had anything stronger than an aspirin since 1989. Um, what makes an addict, and what causes? I mean, I know you can't go into super detail, but what do you think causes that person from having one beer, like cousin Sue might have one
mhm.
beer, but then cousin Johnny, one beer is never enough? What do you
Yeah.
think causes that? Is it a physical thing, mental, or what?
It can be a lot of different things, but my take on it, which you've probably heard this before because you are in recovery, so you've been through the steps and the programs and everything. And as you use alcohol and other substances to either create feelings or numb feelings. So those are the only two reasons that you do those things. The reason is never I just want to have fun. That's not it. Like I've had clients be like, I just like doing cocaine. I'm like, okay, well then explain why you went to go buy it with your kid in the car. That's a different situation than I just like doing it. So now you're committing crimes to do it. So now you've crossed over. It's a different thing. It's different now. So that's kind of my take on it.
Now, like I just had to this morning, the municipal alliance. We had something for the high school kids today, and we were talking about how people think, oh, I'm going to drink and I'm going to have fun, and people don't realize that alcohol is actually a depressant.
Mhm.
And a lot of because you see commercials, everybody's drinking Mike's hard seltzer and all. They're having a great time, but a lot of people don't realize that those are actually depressants. And then people
Mhm.
wonder why. You go, why do I get so depressed when I drink afterwards? And you're like, because it's a
Yeah,
depressant, but
it's a
nobody ever
depressant.
tells you about that. So, what are you seeing with our youth? Because we're from the same town, we see each
Mhm.
other, and we're around the same people. So, what are you seeing with the youth? Not in just our town,
Yeah.
but in America. What are you seeing with the youth,
Uh,
especially now with vaping, now
mhm.
with chewables, now with alcohol? So, what are you seeing now?
I think that because things are getting so much easier to get now than they were before. Because like in New Jersey now, the use of marijuana is legal uh, up to a certain point. I think you still can't buy it on the street. Like you still have to go to a store and pay taxes on it and everything in order to adhere to that. But we still get people who will be like they're younger too, like in their like early 20s maybe. They'll be like, oh, I just smoke weed so I can cope with my anxiety. So it's like people are so self-aware now that they know that they have issues and they're consciously looking for ways to mask the issue and deal with the issue. And I see a lot of it now with younger people, mental health issues, a lot of dissociative identity disorders that are completely made up. They don't have it. However, they think that they have it because we have so much information, so much misinformation on the internet now. So people are just getting just all kinds of stuff fired at them. So now they think that they have all these different things. So you have people who, are 15, 16 years old, maybe even younger, who think that they have just various different mental health issues, and then they may vape or drink or whatever because they feel like that makes me feel better because I have anxiety. And it's like maybe you don't have anxiety, you just think you do because all you do is stare at a screen all day, and it's just coming at you constantly. So you're making yourself anxious.
And I think you're right, and I think that's why I'm part of the alliance or heading it up. Is
Hmm.
a lot of, because I think what they said, on average, 5,000 adolescents every day in America attempt suicide.
Mm.
So that means that's 10,000 parents that are fucked up, because it's coming from somewhere. And
Yeah.
if the kids are messed up, the parents are messed up. And like, I was talking to somebody, I was speaking at an event. I don't remember which event I was speaking at, and I was talking about how, as adults, I'm a 55-year-old guy. If I ask the average adult, what'd you see on TikTok today? They don't have a fucking clue. They don't know what's going on. If you ask them what a TikTok is, what a Snapchat is, Instagram stories, real, they don't have, half of them don't have a clue. So,
Yeah.
how are you trying to take care of your kids when you, first of all, if, I tell my kids, if I'm paying for your phone, I should be able to look at your phone at any time. If I'm paying for it, you want to have your own phone, that's great. You pay for it, you have your privacy. But my kids know, wait a minute, my dad follows me on TikTok. My dad follows me on Instagram. So he knows what I'm seeing. And I think parents, we need to get involved, especially now. Fentanyl is killing people left and right. Where when I was growing up, if I wanted to get my friends on a Friday night, we might go behind the tracks, grab a case of beer, smoke some weed or whatever, and that was it. But now you got to worry about dying
Hmm.
with this fentanyl, because was it 200 micrograms or whatever, the pin of a head of a needle, I mean pin, you're
Even
dead or
yeah, a
whatever.
little bit more than that, but yeah, because there's fentanyl and there's carfentanil, and
Yeah.
carfentanil is the one that's like the littlest. It can take an elephant down with just like a little bit.
And you're dead and you'll never
Yeah.
even know. So talk about, you know, what's going on as far as even the fentanyl. A lot of people don't realize that. My son just had an operation on his. He had his wisdom teeth taken out, and thank God the doctor's like, yeah, we're not giving any kind of pain medicine that can be addictive. They're starting to
Hmm.
see that a lot of people that are addicted to heroin were once it all a lot of it started out on prescription meds.
Yeah. Majority of it does actually,
So,
because
so
people
talk
don't wake
about
up and
that.
decide to do heroin.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
talk about that. What you're seeing. Is it getting better? Is it getting, or is it still along the same lines?
Yeah. I mean, like nobody wakes up one day. It's like I think I'll just start doing heroin. Like it definitely comes from something, and majority of it does come from an injury or an operation, or even a careless doctor who rewards you for doing things. Like I knew a guy who worked in construction, and he was doing construction for a doctor's office, and then the doctor, to thank him for all of his work, gave him like tons of Percocet. It's like a prescription for like 50 or 150 or something Percocets. Obviously, he got addicted to it and then ended up in a program, and now he's doing fine. But like that's not how you reward people. It's just contributing to the problem. And there's all those pill mills and everything. And because of all that, there are people who do get legitimate surgeries, who are in legitimate pain, who don't get prescribed painkillers, because now it's become such a precaution that people have to take because they don't want people getting addicted. It's like I remember I had a surgery not that long ago, and I got prescribed ibuprofen, and because like they don't want to give you anything that can be addicted. Now I don't necessarily care. I'm not a big fan of painkillers to begin with. I don't like the way that they make me feel. So the ibuprofen was fine, but like, what if it's somebody that wasn't enough? You know, because I was still in pain. It wasn't enough, but eventually you get over it. But you have to worry about too, like the people I mentioned street weed before. That's the stuff that the fentanyl's in. Like you're not getting that at a dispensary. You're getting regular stuff there. But if you buy anything that you buy on the street, you don't know what it is. Especially if it's coming to you in a freaking plastic baggie. You don't know what that is. You don't know what's in there. So it could cause so many problems, and people are overdosing left and right on things that they never thought they'd overdose on. People overdosing on, a joint because there's fentanyl laced in there. It's like that's never happened before. That was never a thing,
Yeah.
and now it's something you have to worry about all the time. And then I'll probably get hate for this because I'm going to disagree with the if I pay for your phone, I can look through it thing. Because I believe in privacy no matter what. Because even because kids are people too. However, I'm not down with the iPad generation where you just kind of let a device raise your children. That's insane. And that's how you end up with, younger kids thinking they have all these disorders that they don't have and looking at, people drinking and smoking and doing drugs and doing all these things that you normally wouldn't see because they have the iPad parents who just let their kids watch YouTube all day long and then they end up learning all these things that they didn't know before. Like there are kids who, again, like they think they have disorders that they don't actually have, or they think that they're friends with people who are way too old for them, and are talking to these people online, or they're getting into these shady situations, all because they want to watch, videos all day instead of doing anything else.
Or, okay, so let's talk about that because we all know Snapchat,
Mhm.
uh, TikTok, Instagram, everybody has a filter. So there's a lot of people thinking, okay, all these people that I'm talking to are rail thin and they're all beautiful, but we're 90% of them are using filters, and the kids don't feel good about themselves because they're trying to live up to a standard that's not even real anymore. Like for us, it's like, okay, we are who we are. We're good with that. But when you're a kid and everything is being filtered, and you don't, and you feel like you can't stand up to these people, then you might get into some depression, some anxiety because you feel, well, what Joanne is beautiful, or Michael's got a six pack, and so talk
Mhm.
to us about that, about the mental health issues of social media.
I That's actually a big thing because everybody thinks that their social media is real and it's not. You're watching people's highlight reel and it's just not how it's really going to be. I mean, I have a friend that every time she takes a picture of us, she uses a filter. And like I told her, like you would never know what I looked like in real life because every photo of me with her, I have like super clear skin. It looks like I'm wearing makeup and I look amazing in every photo. You think I was the hottest thing walking, and then you meet me, and I'm like, oh okay. I mean, I'm cute and everything, but like I'm I'm not model like I am in all of those photos because it's just all altered for a social media presence. And it's one thing if people know that, because there's laws and there's movements and things that are being put into place so that um, people can be aware of when images have been altered. I don't think it's happening in America. It probably never will happen here, but it's definitely happening overseas. I think in Paris is one of them. Whenever you look at magazines, it'll actually specify that this image has been altered. So it'll say that so that when people look at it and kids look at it, they go, oh, okay, I don't have to meet this standard because it's not real anyway.
Yeah.
But then it's the ones that they think are real, or even the influencers online. Like I have a horrific story about that because was I fell into that track too of just wanting to look better and feel better about myself. So I ended up getting a surgery to take like a liposuction. It was lipo 360 around my back and stomach. And did I need it? No, but I went for it anyway. And I did very little research, almost none. And I came across this place called Goals Plastic Surgery. It was in Ridgefield. And they have some everywhere. It's like a franchise. I thought it's kind of similar to Sono Bello, or so I thought. Sono Bello has board certified surgeons and things like that, whereas this place I thought was the same. Turned out after the fact, after I had already done everything and already had my horrible experience, they are not board certified. it's all just like a scam to kind of get money. It's like, I mean, they're surgeons, but like pediatric surgeons or heart surgeons. They're not actually plastic surgeons. And I remember I felt everything. I was awake for the entire procedure. I felt everything. They gave me like a numbing thing that didn't do anything. The doctor yelled at me to stop screaming. And I'm like, what the hell is this place? This is a horrific experience. And they gave me painkillers that I normally wouldn't take. I needed to. They gave me Xanax also. And then they stole another, I had two Xanax pills. They gave me one and they stole the other one from me. So I'm like, I'm in all this pain. And then like as soon as I was off the table, they just kicked me out. And then my wife came to get me and we went home. And I'm like, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm like checking to make sure I have my kidneys. Like, I'm like, what is, like, where did I go? What happened? And it's things like that where I'm like, I'm glad that it happened to me and not somebody 20 years younger who, probably looks completely fine and just go ahead and do this stupid thing for no apparent reason. And then for what? I didn't say I look exactly the same. I do look different, but like, it didn't make me happy. It didn't change anything. If anything, I feel pissed, and now I want to bring this agency down because I feel like they're doing horrible and illegal practices. And I'll do whatever just to bring attention onto that, because they need to not be in business. That was horrible. But it's all for the gram. And if you look at their Instagram, everybody there looks amazing. Like they have like this shiny body, all brand new, and they take pictures of you and everything, but like you can tell. I found out later on that they only do good jobs on people that they decided to be brand ambassadors. So like the influencers that they bring on, they're the ones that get the good surgery, the ones that you're actually numb for everything and they actually take their time and they shape you correctly. They're the ones that get all of that. It's the other people who aren't part of that. They're the ones who just gotta you get what you get. And I do think that they prey specifically on low income individuals. Because I didn't think about it until I started looking at their social media, and you see a lot of just like the comments, not the pictures, but the comments from people just being like, "Oh, I need this. I can't afford it otherwise. This would be great. It's so inexpensive. Oh my God, they have all these deals. This is fantastic." It's like, where do you go for surgery that has deals? Like, when you think about it, it's
Yeah.
they're doing like buy one get one free BBLs and things like that. It's like, what are you talking about? Like at the time, you're not thinking about it, but I have another reason why I went through all of that, which I'll also touch base on. But for somebody like else who just really doesn't feel good about themselves, this is perfect for them. They're gonna fall for this, and they're gonna go and they're gonna lose their money. They're gonna lose $8 or $10,000 just getting surgeries that they probably don't need by a doctor who doesn't care about them, at a place who's just going to take their money and never hear from them again. And then they're going to be stuck with trying to figure out how to even heal themselves. So I didn't even get like a post-op anything. My doctor hasn't called me, nothing. They leave you to your own. And that's kind of wild after a surgery because that doesn't usually happen.
So then,
So
how
yeah.
important? Because a lot of people are more worried about what strangers think about them
Hmm.
than what their own. They're going for the hearts, they're going for the
Yeah,
life, and
absolutely.
not even you'll and have 99% of these people you'll never even meet in real life. But I think
Yeah.
so, because it used to be when we were growing up, if you had a bully, you had to deal with them at school. But then when you get
Hmm.
home at 3 o'clock, you're done until the next day or until summer break
Yeah.
is over. But now with phones and iPads and computers, if you're getting bullied, it's 24/7,
It's
right?
constant. Yeah, it's always. It's. But then there's people too, like the people are trying to live up to things. Like I have another friend of mine who um there's this he's not a real MMA fighter. He's just this guy. His name's David Potter. He's a fighter, but he's not at the level that he'd like people to think that he is. And he pretends on social media and he does a lot of things that are not real. And I know that they're not real because I know where he lives and I know who he hangs out with. So like he was pretending to be in Brazil for days on his social media and he wasn't. He was in Bayonne, New Jersey, hanging out at Ty O'Brien's. And like So it's just weird things like that where I'm like, for what? Who are you trying to impress? Like, what is this even for? And then on top of that, people can see that you're lying because like here you have this whole thing, and you're sitting on my friend's couch, watching TV, and you're pretending that you're in Vegas. Like, who's this for? Is this for you to feel good about yourself, or is to impress strangers on the internet? Like, what is all that? And,
It's
and
like
that's an
all those.
adult doing that.
It's like all those people taking pictures in front of Lambos that they don't own,
Yeah,
or in front of the houses that they don't own, and they're
yeah,
like,
that's
"I'm
crazy.
an influencer." I'm like,
Yeah, I'm an
for
influencer.
what? What are you
Kiss
an
my ass.
influencer?
I'm an influencer. But yeah, he does things like that, and I'm like, this is a full blown adult in his 30s, maybe 40s, acting that way. So just imagine what kids are doing. They're doing the same thing, and because everybody wants to have this persona that they don't really have. They just want the world to think that they have it.
So what do you got going on now? Tell us about your life coaching. How did you get into life
Mhm.
coaching, and
Uh,
what was your moment where you're like, you know what, I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I
mhm.
want to help others that are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah. Well, I do the life coaching because I am a licensed therapist. So because of that, there's a difference between therapy and life coaching. Like therapy is like you're really trying to help people cope with things and give them skills that they can learn, whereas life coaching is just holding people accountable. So
Okay.
it's making sure that whatever it is that they're doing, it's kind of an accountability partner. Whereas a therapist is not doing that. A therapist is not making sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that you're going to your appointments or anything like that. That's not their job. A life coach, though, it is. Their job is to, here's your schedule, here's what you have to do, and I'm going to hold you accountable. And if you don't do this, you failed. Period. And that's where I'm kind of at with a lot of things, and that's why I separate the therapy from the life coaching because it's so different. You would never, as a therapist, you would never talk to somebody that way. But as a life coach, yes, because that's what they need. These people need tough love. You know, people that want individual therapy, couples counseling, they don't necessarily want that type of treatment. They're not interested in the tough love. They just want to get through what it is they want to get through, and that's fine. The life coaching I enjoy for that reason. So I'm finally at a point in my career where I'm like, okay, enough of the coping and the coddling, time for results, time to just get things done. And so I am certified life coach. Not that you need it. I feel like a coach for certain things is not like anybody can call themselves a coach. Unfortunately, Mr. Comeback Coach, anybody can kind of call themselves that, but you have to live up to it. So I can say that I'm a life coach and then just never do anything with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I
So
see
yeah,
kids that are 18 years old on the gram, and they're like, I'm a life coach. I'm like,
yeah. Anybody
listen,
can call themselves anything.
and I'm like, wait a minute, listen, Junior, I got shoes that are older than you. How are you going to tell me about living life? How many marriages have you had? How many
Yeah.
businesses have you run? What
Hmm.
have you gone through that you can coach me? Because if you're 18 years old, never had a kid, never been married, and I need help with my marriage, and I need somebody to help me go through a recession, you've never done it.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
because like a lot of people say, well, what qualifies me as a coach? And I'm like, well, I've worked with players from the NFL, WWE, blah, 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 blah. But if you want to ask me what I do, ask the people that I have helped and worked with. Don't,
Yeah.
I could say I'm the greatest coach in history, but if it's Dean Graziosi, John Lee Dumas, if those people say that's the guy you need to listen to,
Hmm.
then that's what's more important to me. Because a lot of people ask me, are you an influencer? I don't know. I don't call
Hmm.
myself an influencer because for me it's kind of douchey. It's
Yeah.
kind of like and I'm actually writing an article on LinkedIn tomorrow. You know, if you have to call yourself anything, then you're not that. If you have to call yourself a leader, then you're not really a leader. Ask the people that follow you if you're a leader.
Hmm.
Like people ask me, are you an influencer? Are you a leader? I'm like, ask my friends, Ask the
Yeah.
people that follow me. I don't know. And I have a T-shirt that I wear. It says, "Heroes talk about themselves, but legends get talked about." So I'd
Mm.
rather be talked about than talk about myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like that. There's a goal right there.
Yeah. So what what else do you got? I mean, okay. So how do you get? Because I know there's courses you can take.
Mhm.
How do you get certified as a life coach? Is it? Because I know I might
Yeah.
have friends they went through John Maxwell leadership courses and stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah,
So,
there are leadership courses that you can take, or there's coaching courses that you can take. Um, some of them are free, some of them are paid for. I went through a paid course and I did get a certificate, but you don't actually need to. You can be self-taught as a life coach, and you can also just kind of be one. Like I would never go to an 18-year-old life coach. They know what the fuck they're talking about. But I would go to somebody who like like myself or like you who you can tell has been through it and can give you some sort of advice. It's from experience, not just from what I think. Because like anybody that's really, really, really young like that, like 18 years old, 19 years old, 20, who's like, I'm a life coach. They're the ones that are going to tell you to like sleep better and drink like green juices and get exercise and be in the sun. They're going to give you like the most generic advice of all time that isn't going to work for anybody or might work for some people, but definitely not the majority.
and I think because I was on a call with another friend of mine and we were talking about there's good coaches, then there's shitty coaches. Like
Yeah.
I am not a cheap coach. I'm probably one of the most expensive coaches out there, but I'm also not the guy that's going to hold your hand. I'm going to be like, bro, or whoever I'm working with. You're fucking up. You
Hmm.
need to get your if you want to lose weight, you need to get your ass to the gym and put the
And
ding
actually do
dongs
it.
away.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that guy that's going to coddle you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to be
Hmm.
on your ass so you can be successful. Because the more successful you become, the more successful I become. And
Right.
I think coaches, some of them have them twisted to where they think, well, the more successful I am, the more successful they'll be. But if you make them become successful, you can't help but become a successful coach, right?
Right. Like I completely agree. And it's the same way too, even with just like working. Like I've had people be like, "Oh, but you're the boss. You're everybody's boss." And I'm like, I don't like that word at all. I hate being called a boss. I don't think that's correct. I want to be like a leader. I want to inspire, and I want people to do better. I want to motivate the people that I work with and that I'm mentoring. I don't want them to be like, "Oh, but you're my boss, so I have to do this." It's like I don't ever want you to think of me as anybody's boss. Like I just want to be someone that can be looked up to because I am not successful if nobody under me is successful. And that's just the truth. Like if it doesn't matter how good I am at anything. If I have people who are just not performing to the best of their ability, then I failed. And I have to figure out a way to help this person bring this person up so that they can do better and they can be better at their craft. Because you have to start someplace. I didn't wake up one day a good coach or a good clinician or a good anything. You have to work at it. So I think that's an issue too. Some people they don't like to put the work in. And I do feel like if you're in a field where you're just not interested in putting the work in, maybe it's just not the right one for you, and that's okay. But you should like look into other things. Don't just keep half-assing it in something else in something that you're not interested in.
Well, even like,
And
my friend Gary Vaynerchuk said, if you want to be great at podcasting, you got to start to suck at podcasting first. You got to put in, like even Ed Milet talks about in his book, you got to put in the reps.
yeah,
And sometimes you just when you don't feel like doing it, you got to just do one more rep or, just do one, show up one more day, stay late one more day, get early one more day. And that's including in recovery. Like my old sponsor, I got sober at 20. So I wasn't even able to legally drink when I got sober.
hmm,
But he told me, sit down, shut up. You don't know anything. Get your meeting early, stay late, and make coffee. And I'll guarantee you never get drunk again. He said, you got to put in the work. You got to put in the reps. Right.
hmm. Yeah, you've heard it. The program works if you work it.
Yep.
Keep it simple, stupid, all the sayings.
And they,
But
and they,
it's
And if you really think about them, all the sayings do work. Like for me, the only thing that kept me sober for the first year was I always asked every day, I want to read the promises because that's what kept me going. I'm like, okay, there's got to be something more than just not drinking. So I was the promise. I read the promises for years because that was the only thing that kept me going for a while. But I just did one more. I just made one more meeting. So as time's winding down, what do you have going on right now? We just had the Black Poster Project.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing, 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 great project. Talk to us about your group. I love it. It's fun. It's like
North
21
Arlington
people.
Misfits.
It's like 21 people that are just no holds barred, and
Yeah,
everybody's home. It's a home where you don't feel like you have to try to fit in. So talk to us about what
yeah.
Christina's got going on now.
The Misfits is basically just the people who didn't feel don't necessarily feel welcome in this town, but like the town anyway, and we just happen to get along with each other. And we also all have a lot of cats. There's a lot of cat videos, a lot of cat photos. One of the girls in the group, actually, I randomly met her. Like, the day that I met her, I took her to a concert. Like I had to actually take her to a Madonna concert, and I was back when I used to be a member of North Arlington Happenings, and I posted about it. I was like, you know what, I have a ticket for just for the funsies for a Christmas miracle. I'm going to take somebody to this concert, and people thought it was a scam for a while, and this one girl was like, you know what, I'll try it, and she reached out to me, and I was like, sold, let's go. And I took her to the concert, and we had a great time. We're friends now, and like things like so she's in the North Arlington Misfits, and she doesn't even live in North Arlington, which is kind of funny, but she wanted to be part of the group because why not, let's all be misfits together.
Yep. So last question is, if somebody's going through either mental health issues or addiction issues, what are 3 things that they can do this week to start trying to get some peace in their life?
Mm. Well, the first thing is acknowledging that you even have an issue to begin with, because a lot of people they know that it's there, but they don't fully embrace it. They kind of just go, I'll just deal with it later. So you really have to just like kind of put your foot down and be like, all right, I have a problem, I have to address it. So that's number one. Number two is actually reaching out to take steps to get it. So you should reach out to a professional. And you could try your friends first, but they're probably going to just tell you to suck it up, or you can't always go to your friends for things like that. So obviously reach out to a professional. So you could reach out to somebody like you, somebody like me, that knows the deal and knows how to help you. And after that, I think taking time to yourself to relax and really think about what it is that you want to get better with. Like, do you just want to stop drinking, or do you want to work on the reason why you're drinking to begin with? There's a reason. There's always a reason.
No.
Or doing drugs, whatever it is. There's always a reason. It's never just because I feel like it. There's always a reason. And you may say it's because you feel like it. It's because you're not ready to address what the reason is. But it's there. So that's the professional can help you out with.
All right. So, how do we find you? How do we get in touch with you? How do we support your mission?
Okay. Well, you can find me you can check out my website. It's www.synergycounselingofnj.org. My email is also Christina Ward Therapy at Gmail. You can reach out to me at any time. I'll even give you my business phone number. It's 973-370-5949. And all of that links up to the life coaching that I do, and also the EMDR that I do, which we didn't talk too much about the EMDR, but I can always come back and talk about that. But yeah, you can get in touch with me all those ways.
All right. And it's been great talking to you. It's been great. I can't wait to hang out with you again. Like I said,
For sure.
I'm a misfit, so I'm like that. Was it the Misfits, the Toyland? Back in
Yeah.
days. That's me. I fit in nowhere, but I fit in everywhere, and I feel most comfortable with Misfits because we can all realize we're just misfits.
Yeah. I got that from Gem and the Holograms. There's a group called, this is also where I got Synergy Counseling from. Synergy as a character in Gem and the Holograms, and then Misfits was the villain band in Gem and the Holograms,
Yeah.
and they're Misfits only because they were a little bit just rough around the edges. They just
Yeah.
didn't get along with everybody else, so they were called the Misfits. And I think that's a good name for us and for my little group there. Just
So I just want to say
we're
thank
cool and everything.
Yeah. You're amazing, and hopefully you're going to have a great week and have a great summer. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for having me come speak at your event. It really touched me, especially when I seen all the military stuff. That broke me down, and to realize that, you know, if we can just help save one life through our talk today, then we're doing our jobs.
I really hope so. So I
Christina,
appreciate
have
you
a
having
great
me.
week. And guys, make sure you check her out. And guys, remember, vertical momentum, the only way to go is up. I love you guys. Have a great week.